Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the EPC meeting this morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask our chaplain, Commissioner White, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation this morning. Commissioner White.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Thank you. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I have a flag behind me, or perhaps you'll have an image of an American flag, but please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
which stands
one nation
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, I pray that you will guide this board, our staff and stakeholders this morning as we make decisions on various environmental issues. You've blessed us with clean air and water, beautiful surroundings, and many, many other things that make our life great. So I pray that you will just help us make the right decisions. Father, I thank you for Commissioner Miller and his many years of service. He's been an outstanding public servant, and I just pray that you will guide him and bless he and his family as he moves forward towards this chapter of life that we call retirement. Father, as always, I pray for our military and members of our armed forces and our first responders, that you will guide them, keep them comfortable, keep them safe each and every day. I ask for all of these blessings and give these thanks in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, and well said. We have a memorandum from a board member. Commissioner Pat Kemp asked that I read this into the record. Please be advised that due to an unforeseen scheduling conflict, I am unable to attend the Thursday, October 15th EPC meeting. Please read the reason for my absence into the record. We'll call the roll at this time.
Good morning, Smith.
Here.
Hagan.
Here.
Commissioner Kemp is absent. Millick.
Here.
Merman.
Here.
Overman.
Here.
White.
Here.
Commissioner White.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. And we do have some changes to the agenda today. So, Ms. Doherty, will you read those into the record?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. We are going to defer the item under recognitions and proclamations for a memorial to Kent Bailey at the beginning of the year. So those are the only changes to the agenda, Commissioner.
Move the changes.
I've got a motion to move the changes. So I have a second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Overman. Let's take a roll call vote.
Smith.
Yes.
Hagan.
Yes.
Millick.
Yes.
Commissioner Millick.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Merman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Commissioner Merman, I'm sorry.
Yes. You get it?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. Overman.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Commissioner White, you didn't come through.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. I'm hearing everyone loud and clear. So it may be on your end to turn up your volume or something. Okay. And this brings us to the recognitions and proclamations. This morning, we have a very special recognition and farewell. Ms. Doherty, will you lead this off?
Thank you, Commissioner. It'd be my honor to do so. Commissioner Miller, it has been a wonderful honor to serve under you as you have chaired the EPC. For members of the public who are watching, Commissioner Miller has been chair for 5 years and vice chair for 4 years. Your wisdom, leadership, guidance, as well as your love for the environment and this agency has been an inspiration to myself and to staff. And I am grateful for the opportunity to work with you over these past 5 years. We've put together a quick short video, and we're going to play that video now for you, Commissioner.
Over 50 years, we've seen what came out of the old Tampa Bay and where it was before and where we are now, and our area is vitally important. And our climate is changing. It's vitally important that this EPC continues to do what it's doing to make sure that future generations have clean air and clean water to drink. Speaker Terrell Substance back in '67 was a visionary to see this, and we probably one of the only counties in the state, probably in this country, to have such an environmental protection agency as we have. The foresight of him and Commissioner Platt working to make sure that we have the type of agency we have protects Hillsborough County. We probably have more not only in this state but in this country. It's so important that other counties who have not had the opportunity to enact one has called on us to do certain things. Right now, we're 1.5 million. Probably in 50 more years, we'll probably be over 3 or 4 million people in this county. I think EPC will still be around doing the great job it's doing. You know, I grew up in the 1950s, and, you know, back in East Tampa, back then, we weren't taught about the environment at all. In fact, we never saw the baby because we weren't allowed to go over there as black individuals. But growing up and then getting in the legislature and finding how important our environment is and working with environmentalists, and then coming to the county commission and seeing what the EPC is all about. We're doing an excellent job. The tenure of the staff is, I mean, it's the longevity there is off the chain. So I had the opportunity to work with them. I'm so glad that I have. To serve as chairman of the BOCC in 2015-16 and chair of the EPC at the same time was kind of unprecedented. Didn't ask for that. My colleagues gave it to me, and it's an honor to do that because I got staff like you guys out there that are doing outstanding work to keep things going. So my job's pretty easy. One thing the legislature has to realize that all government is local. We're educating people of how important our environment is because when you destroy it, we're not going to get it back. But in the 6.5 years I've been there, with the help of you and the help of Mike Merrill and his staff and the county commissioners seeing the need that I brought to them, we are rectifying some of those issues. I never knew how much science was involved with EPC until I became a county commissioner and took a visit to the EPC office. They stayed about a half a day and watching what they did. And I was totally blown away. One thing that's good about EPC is that there's no politics involved in the decisions. It's all about science. We need to make sure that EPC, number one, is funded properly. You're going to have to hire more staff because as this county grows, your responsibilities are going to grow. So we need to make sure that the budget is there for the EPC. We need to make sure that you bring on the best possible staff that you can find to do the job that you have to do. Work that you do is going to increase tremendously the next 50 years. We may not be here, but we want to make sure that my grandkids and my great-grandkids and your grandkids have the pleasures of what we have today. The Lord put me in the right place at the right time, and that was important. So I appreciate what the EPC has done. I appreciate what you do. I want to make sure that before I leave here, you're protected at least for the next number of years, that I can help, and those that come after me can do the same thing, because it's vitally important to have our EPC in place to make sure that as this county grows, our environment is protected.
Well, that was very lovely.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Elena Glusica for putting that together. Obviously, we don't have the highest tech equipment. There's some background noise, but Commissioner Miller, your EPC family. You've been here a long time and you've done so much for our agency and the environment. And the Lord did put you in the right place at the right time. I first met you as a legislator years ago, and I admired you back then. You are a leader, and in the past 5 years, you've negotiated both of my contracts. And when we've had to sit together through briefings, all of these meetings, and even some contentious issues, you have given me sage and sound and wise advice. I consider you a friend, a mentor, and a role model. I'd like to recognize all the work you've done for the agency. You've been a tireless advocate. Our new meeting room would not have been possible without you. Our security guard at the front desk, when we were having some issues, would not be possible without your advocacy to our administration and to the other board members. Before we move on to the Lifetime Achievement Award, I just would like to recognize some of the other things that you've done. You became the BOCC chair, and when you were going to leave the EPC chair, I remember saying to you that you would be the BOCC chair, and there was a Republican majority, and you were sitting in the office with Rick Shantz and I, and you did not think that would happen. And the reason that happened, sir, is because you transcend partisan politics. I'd like to say that I admired you for taking a stand to find a more appropriate place than the public square for the Confederate monument. I know that was way ahead of others in the country who have moved towards that resolution as well. And I want to thank you personally for serving on the safety of our citizens and putting a mask mandate in place for the citizens of Hillsborough County. I know not all your decisions have been popular. You've received threats against yourself and your family and hate mail, and that always hurt my heart. But your courage and your leadership to always do the right thing is what we need in all of our public servants. And I just wanted to thank you so much personally. Say those things into the record. And with that, Commissioner, you're going to make me cry. I know you're a phone call away. You have been available to me 24/7. I've called you on weekends, at nights, during football games, and you've always taken my call and given me sound, sage advice. And with that, we will move into the Lifetime Achievement Award. I know you love eagles, and the gentleman who took this photo, he's a renowned environmental photographer. His name is Harry Lerner. And he is not with us today because he is actually in Tarpon Springs shooting a pair of eagles that are building a nest. All the birders get together and shoot different species. He's got a lot of different landscape and environmental photos. But he gave us this photo for you. And at the bottom, it says, "Thank you for your dedicated service to the citizens of Hillsborough County and your long-standing support of EPC and the protection of our natural resources. Your EPC family, October 15th, 2020. Along with your Lifetime Achievement Award, Commissioner, we have a pewter statue of an eagle that can sit in your home. And I most of the time we put the EPC bird in these Lifetime Achievement Awards. This is the first time we put an eagle because I remember you saying how much you loved eagles. We also have a small crystal eagle as well. And we have a book on eagles for you to put on your coffee table so that people can read up on eagles. Senior staff and I, and all at EPC, we admire you so much, and we're going to do a Teams call. And when we do that, Commissioner, we'll honor you as well as Alphanet and Larry with some other goodies, our Giving Tree book and our Lucky Turtle as you go into retirement. But I want to thank you. I know you're only a phone call away, and I love you very much. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Very nicely done, Ms. Doherty. Thank you so much. for putting that together and helping us all remember the contributions of Commissioner Miller to our EPC and our community. Of course, we have a couple of commissioners who want to say a few words at this time. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, you'll be hearing plenty from your colleagues in the upcoming weeks, but I just want to say how impressed I've been with the EPC and how it's run, how the organization functions. And that's a testament to the leadership, not only up to the executive director position, but right up to the board chairman. And the EPC has been very fortunate to have you at the helm or in that vice chair role for those 9 years, I believe is what it added up to be. So kudos to you on an outstanding career. I mean it sincerely from the heart when I tell you that although we have not agreed on some issues, we've always been cordial and collegial with one another. I admire you so much with your steady hand as a leader and for all of the years that you've dedicated to our community, from your time in the legislature, the county commission, the various boards you've served on, and many, many other functions. So Godspeed, my friend. You're a true statesman, and I wish you the very, very best in your retirement.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Thank you.
And Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
It's going to be hard to follow a lot of what's already been said, but apparently I'm needing to send you a membership to the Audubon Society so that you can go look for some eagles. But I was glad to hear that you're a fan of the eagles, and we have our share in our community, and a lot of the reasons they are thriving in our community are the work that you and Charles Sessoms has got started, along with many, many others. Your leadership in protecting our EPC is critically important to our community and our citizens, not only now, but for generations to come. So thank you very much for all that you've done and for the leadership that you've shown in protecting our environment and supporting the EPC and their entire staff. Obviously, the love is around. So I just wanted to say thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner Overman. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Merman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Les, we've known each other 24 years. And it's been 24 really great years. And your friendship, I just can't say, words can't say what it means to me. And I hope it means the same to you, because we have not always agreed on everything, but our respect for each other certainly has carried forward. And we have worked together. We've worked across the aisle. We've figured out how to make things work for citizens of Hillsborough County and the state of Florida. And you are absolutely a grand statesman of all, just all measures. You are a pure and true statesman. Up there, actually, probably with Ronald Reagan or somebody like that, who I consider a real statesman. But I tell you, you're just, you've really done a great job for this county. I hope every citizen really acknowledges you for what you've done for them, because it's certainly commendable. I will miss you very, very much, and miss working together. So thank you all. Thank you for 24 years. I really do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Merman. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I get to wrap it up and say, Commissioner Miller, we're going to be saying farewell to you and honoring you on all the boards that you serve on, most of which you chair. And today it's our turn to honor you and your service on the EPC. And I want to thank you for your many years of service as chair of EPC. you bring a very important voice when you speak for the environment and speak for your constituents. It has a lot of gravitas to it, and it's really important for our community to hear your support of EPC from you. And 5 years as chair, 4 years as vice chair. In addition to that, that is very important service. EPC is one of the things this county does really right. And so thank you for your leadership of this agency for so many years of protecting our environment. I wish you a long, happy retirement. I understand you're planning to play a lot of golf, and I hope you do get to enjoy a lot of that. And I'll bet you will occasionally see an eagle flying above the golf course. And because I see them around. And when you see an eagle here in our community, I hope you think back on this day of people thanking you with eagles. And I hope it reminds you of that. So thank you. And Commissioner White, is your hand still up?
No, ma'am. I just always forget that it doesn't automatically go down with this system. So I just put it down.
Commissioner Miller, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, Commissioner Smith, if you don't mind, thank you very much. Sorry for being a crybaby, but my wife always tells me I'm a bag of water anyway. So, but let me thank each and every one of you for all of your kind words. Ms. Doherty, you're a piece of work. The day that we hired you, it's kind of ironic that particular year, I think as chairman of many agencies, I had to hire 3 people for those different agency CEOs. And the day you and I sit down to work on the contract was not an easy one. But I am so grateful that the Lord had us to work it out 5 years ago, and you took over this agency, and you have not missed a beat. And I thank you for that. Thank you for all that you've done for this county. I truly appreciate all the work that you and your staff, and to the EPC staff, it's the greatest staff in the world. The times that I came out there and spent time, I went out there one time just to spend an hour, ended up thinking I spent there half a day understanding what our EPC did. And I want to thank you and the staff so very much for all that you do. The EPC is recognized throughout this region, throughout this state, throughout this country. That's why other counties come to us to help them out. And that's because your leadership and your staff's leadership and the wisdom and knowledge that you all have makes that happen. And it's been my pleasure to serve as a member of this board, and didn't think I'd ever chair the EPC, but I did. And I'm thankful for that, and got to know some other people in that. The environment is so important to us. As I said before, I never got a chance to see the bay growing up because we weren't allowed over there. But I know how important water is. I know how important the air is, how important our environment is. And I never considered myself an environmentalist until I became a member of this BOCC, and I realized the things I was taught by you, Ms. Doherty, and your staff, and Dr. Garrity, how important this environment is. And we cannot let it be destroyed. We cannot let it be destroyed at all. Yeah. Not only for us, but for our generations to come. We got to work hard, whether we're county commissioners or just average citizens in this county. We got to work hard to protect it. Let me thank you, Commissioner White, for your comments, sir. We have not always agreed, but I've always admired you and respected you. And I will continue to respect you for what you do. You have your beliefs, your thoughts, and you stick to those. And don't ever waver from them. I might not always agree with you, but don't ever waver from them. Please don't. Commissioner Oldman, your comments I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much for what you said. Thank you so much for all that you do, especially trying to find housing for our people. Commissioner Merman, we go back a long, long way. Our days in the legislature. We had some battles, but that was a day and time that we battled on the floor of the house, and we go out and have dinner together. They don't do that anymore. That was important to do that, and I've always respected you, and I love you. I really, really do. And we've done some things together that's made a difference in this county, and I appreciate you being there with me. I appreciate all of you, Mr. Smith, all of you. That Mr. Hagan. Commissioner Hagan, I first met Commissioner Hagan. I'd known him, but I first met him when Commissioner Hagan took it upon himself and his family to campaign for my wife when she was running for city council. And he and his family worked in my wife's campaign and stood on corners for her and didn't even ask about any pay or any feeding them or anything. Just said it was the best thing for them to do was to do that for her. And we became friends at that point. And he and I worked together on many things in this community. So, Mr. Hagan, I appreciate that. Let me say this. If you don't think our environment is really changing, you can see it around us every day in this state, in the Hillsborough County. But when I really saw it, my wife and I went on a cruise to Alaska. First of all, in Juneau, Alaska, we saw probably in one setting 1,000 eagles. I went crazy. Absolutely lost my mind when I saw those eagles there. They just were there, sitting there in one spot. I thought it was tar. It was eagles there. But while we were there, we saw the glaciers melting. We heard the glaciers melting. Mm-hmm. On one of those into Ford's Forest, a piece of glacier fell off. It sounded like a bomb went off. And then part of that day, part of it, another glacier fell off in Juneau, Alaska, and almost flooded part of the other part of the city. And realized then that this climate is changing. And we cannot allow that to happen, not only in our county, but our state, in this country, this world. So for those of you who are going to be here, please, please protect this environment. Please protect it. I don't care if you call it global warming or environmental change or whatever you call it, it's happening. And we got to protect it. I probably said too much, Commissioner Smith. If I did, I'm sorry. But I had to say a few things. So to all of you, thank you so very much. Ms. Doherty, I'm only a phone call away. You can still call me anytime, day or night, middle of a football game, whatever. I love you, my dear, and keep doing what you're doing, and the staff keep doing what you're doing. All of you keep doing what you're doing. I'm only going to be a phone call away. And yes, I'm going to get my back right. I'm going to put my brace on. I'm going to try to go out there and play some golf. But to each and every one of you, I respect you. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, thank you very much. What a nice way to kick off our meeting and what is bound to be a few weeks of farewells and honoring Commissioner Miller. Thank you, Ms. Doherty, for putting so much together so well for all of us. That speaks for this agency. This takes us through public comment, which I understand we have none today. And next is the consent agenda. So
Approval.
motion to approve that.
Move approval.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Merman, second from Commissioner Overman. Yeah. Let's take a roll call vote. Yes.
Hagan?
Yes.
Commissioner Hagan?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Merman?
Yes.
Overman?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. And that brings us to the regular agenda. Ms. Doherty, you have the floor.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to try and share this presentation with you. Just bear with me a moment. And I did want to say, Commissioner, thank you for telling me that I can call you. I'm going to keep you on speed dial, and we do love you. So with that, I will. You've been just such a great friend and mentor. Let me try and share these slides. Okay, here we go. Okay, voila. Good morning, commissioners. Again, it is a pleasure to come before you once again to report on our agency's progress, programs, and initiatives. This year, our theme, Adapting to Our New Environment, demonstrates the significance of COVID-19 on our agency during these unprecedented times. Our mission, visions, and values provide the framework for our agency. We review them annually as part of our strategic planning process. The agency's core functions listed here come directly from our Enabling Act. Each of these core functions is an important component in protecting our county's environment and quality of life. Here is a list of our delegations from agencies that have entrusted their programs with us. As you can see, we operate programs in 16 different environmental areas. Our Wetlands Division safeguards groundwater, surface water, and provides natural flood mitigation while preserving wildlife habitat and coastal shorelines. While development has increased in the Tampa Bay area, EPC continues to work hard to conserve our natural resources. As observed in the graph, applications for activities in wetlands have increased by 90% since 2011. Over the past year, more permits were issued and reviews completed in each category than in the prior year. Even with the increase in submittals, EPC has maintained a steady wetland impact average of approximately 30 acres. Ensuring wetlands within Hillsborough County will be around for years to come is our mission. The figures before you demonstrate that this is accomplished by making sure the mitigation provided exceeds the impacts authorized. Looking at the figure to your left, through education and discussion of alternative site plans with applicants, the proposed impacts were reduced from 53 acres to an approved total of 29 acres. The second figure captures the impacts that were completed during 2019 to 2020. More than 3.5 times total acres of mitigation was provided compared to the total acres of impact. This was all required mitigation and is a combination of creation, preservation, and enhancement. The picture before you is an example of a 107-acre conservation easement provided to EPC. A conservation easement is an option to protect a property for future generations, but is not required for every wetland mitigation area. Through education and working with the development community, 28 acres of voluntary CEs were provided to EPC during the August 2019 to July 2020 review period. During the same period, 232 acres of conservation easements were received by EPC, and since 2014, EPC has received 530 acres of conservation easements. While wetlands protection remains our first focus, our commitment to the public for seeking efficiencies remains a top priority. EPC offers one-stop permitting, which saves time and money, not only for citizens of Hillsborough County, but also our sister agencies. The Wetlands Division accomplishes this through multiple delegations and MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding. In 2019 through 2020, more than 631 of the permits issued were for at least 2 agencies, and of those, at least 437 were completed for 4 agencies. Our air division is responsible for guarding and enhancing the quality of air we breathe and maintaining limitations on certain noises. Our air monitoring network is the heart of our air program. The data collected by our staff not only determine our compliance with the federal air quality standards, but it's also used to set standards for future rulemaking. To the left is a map of our air monitoring network, and to the right are the pollutants that EPA has determined have the greatest impact to public health. As we have said before in earlier presentations this year, for the first time in nearly 30 years, Hillsborough County is meeting all the federal health-based standards. EPA's Air Quality Index ranks air quality levels from good to hazardous. Overall, our local air quality is good, and we experience only a few days each year where the air is unhealthy for sensitive groups. The sensitive groups include elderly, persons with compromised health, and the very young. Now that TICO and Mosaic have made upgrades and added additional pollution controls, there has been a decline in the number of unhealthy AQI days. All this despite EPA tightening the air quality standards over the years. AIR's complaint response section investigates air pollution complaints, issues burn authorizations to developers, and houses one of the few local noise pollution control programs in the state. We also operate an asbestos compliance program on behalf of EPA and the state. The air permitting and compliance sections regulate various sources of industrial air pollution. They ensure these facilities follow local, state, and federal rules. Construction permits are a high priority because they correlate to growth and can lead to new job opportunities. Our permitted facilities consist of over 200 industrial sources. Our waste division is responsible for the management of solid and hazardous waste. They also have the agency's brownfield program. By mandate of the Florida legislature, all counties are required to establish a small quantity generator, SQG, notification and verification program. And EPC has operated its program since 1991. The SQG program is self-funded by user fees, and to date, over 16,000 businesses in the county have been identified as potential hazardous waste generators. Our program is based upon education and compliance assistance to business owners and operators. And this chart shows that since 2016, compliance rates have more than doubled. We have managed the storage tank compliance and petroleum cleanup programs under DEP contract for over 30 years. Our routine tank compliance activities ensure proper storage tank operation and maintenance, thereby protecting our groundwater resources. The petroleum cleanup program works with and manages the activities of state and local contractors who oversee the cleanup of properties where petroleum discharges have occurred. The Waste Division maintains a list of 177 historic landfills dating back as far as the 1920s, and we have assisted in the redevelopment of 108 of these sites over the past 20 years. Through a delegation agreement with the state, the EPC has managed the Brownfields program since 2004. As you can see from the dramatic change in property values, the program is extremely successful. At this time, we are currently managing 36 sites across the county and will continue to promote and assist in future redevelopment. Our water division protects surface and groundwater quality through the implementation of monitoring, permitting, compliance, and enforcement programs. We would like to once again, Commissioners, thank you for your support in awarding us a portion of the BP oil spill funds for EPC's water monitoring program. This chart shows water quality trends for the 4 bay segments since the 1970s. Across the top are the 4 segments of the bay. The orange indicates poor water quality and green indicates good water quality. As you can see, the bay has dramatically improved since EPC began monitoring water quality nearly 5 decades ago. This is the same chart focusing on the past 20 years. Comparing 2019 to 2018, we did see improvements in 3 bay segments. Hillsborough Bay and Middle Tampa Bay went from B to A grades, and Lower Tampa Bay improved from C to B due to a lack of red tide in 2019. The overall bay-wide mean in 2019 was slightly higher than in 2018, but has consistently remained in the B range since 2005. Overall, the Water Quality Index for Tampa Bay continued to show an improving trend in 2019, despite the area's population growth. Here we see EPC monitoring staff collecting water quality samples in the Hillsborough River. Our monitoring staff does not just collect samples from boats. Approximately 130 of our stations are sampled from bridges and roadsides. Here, field crews are measuring water quality parameters in one of our monitored tributaries. The map to the right shows our extensive tributary network of stations and the corresponding 2019 Water Quality Index score for each site. The Pollution Recovery Fund, housed in the Water Division, provides grant money for projects to mitigate the effects of pollution. It is funded solely by administrative penalties obtained through enforcement. Since 1987, the PRF has provided over $8 million in grant funds for a total of 169 environmental projects. These funds are often leveraged with other funding sources to help pay for much larger projects. This slide shows all active projects, and we are currently processing the 2020 applications. The Administrative Division and Legal Department support our 4 operational divisions. Whether it's through maintaining our budgets, ensuring compliance with overarching regulations, or providing needed technological enhancements, our admin and legal staff carry out their tasks efficiently and effectively. The effect of COVID-19 on the agency has been multifold, and just like the county, we have had to adjust to the way we do business. Our first priority was to ensure staff safety, and as you can see, we have implemented policies and procedures that line up with the federal guidelines. Concurrently, our technology staff implemented rapid changes to transition all staff to a remote working environment. Their quick actions enabled us to maintain our ability to respond to citizens and continue needed compliance and permitted activities. In the Waste Division, we implemented alternative inspection methods. And surprisingly, we had temporary improvements to air quality due to reduced road traffic, as you can see from the graphic. But in large, we have maintained our core responsibilities. We are always mindful of the need to be responsible with the resources we are given. We continue to bring in $1 for every $1 we receive from the county. And as this slide indicates, we are on track to return money to the general fund for the 5th consecutive year, approximately $150,000. At EPC, we have made diversity a priority. As you can see on the chart to the right, over half of our staff consist of females and 1/3 are minorities. Under my tenure, we have added 3 minority division directors and 1 assistant director. Added to that diversity are the daily contributions that we get from our EPC veterans. In fact, 10% of our workforce served in some branch of the U.S. military. This year, all of our operational divisions have been subject to some form of audit by outside organizations. In 2020, EPC had 54 audits evaluating our programs. We use these audits results to improve our programs. As you can see from the summary of the agency's complaint activity, we not only receive a large number of complaints, but have been prompt in our response. Over the 1,400 complaints received, we've responded to our constituents within 3 days, 96% of the time, and have closed out nearly every complaint within the 180-day time frame. In the past, noise would typically be the leading complaint, but this year we find the complaints are more evenly distributed. While there certainly were adjustments required by staff in response to the effect of COVID-19, I am pleased to report for 2020 year to date that we met almost all of our self-imposed metrics established for our core functions. We continue to investigate the majority of citizen complaints within 3 days and prioritize resolution activities in an effort to bring all operations into compliance timely. It should be noted that we established these self-imposed internal goals during the rigorous Sterling management process, wherein the agency set a high bar and elevated efficiency standards. These goals are reviewed annually as part of our strategic planning process. EPC staff, with our county colleagues and partner organizations, continue to work towards improving the sustainability and resiliency of our community. Through knowledge sharing and leveraging resources, we are making strides in process efficiencies, emission reductions, and natural resource preservation. As we look ahead and face our challenges, sustainability and resiliency will play a vital role in helping us to adapt, recover, and improve Hillsborough County. Like all progressive organizations, we look to maximize our resources and efficiencies. In fiscal year 18, we began to move the agency away from paper record keeping and towards a digital framework. The paperless initiative will eventually convert all paper files to an electronic format for ease of storage, access, and usability. By utilizing different software systems and applications, the agency is able to electronically accept permits, online application, fee submittals, and process payments. Unless prompted to accelerate our pace, our goal is to complete this project as our resources allow. The environmental and business feedback groups continue to provide us useful advice, and we continue to listen to the ideas and concerns of both the citizenry and the regulated community. Community engagement is a strategic priority for EPC, and we pride ourselves on having a presence at multiple events throughout the year. Unfortunately, COVID struck at the height of our outreach season, which limited our activities and led to the cancellation of all in-person outreach events. While we are unable to meet in person, staff implemented new approaches to several of our biggest annual EPC hosted and partnering events. After transitioning to an all virtual outreach approach, I presented an environmental message on Sun Radio. During American Wetlands Month, we featured weekly online articles and brought the beauty of our local wetlands into the homes of housebound residents. EPC also collaborated with Hillsborough County and Florida Solar United to usher in the first all virtual Hillsborough Solar Co-op launch. EPC's Clean Air Fair was once again on schedule to highlight our outreach season, and this year we intended to throw a birthday bash recognizing the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. After its unfortunate cancellation, we were able to continue the annual student environmental photography contest by switching to an electronic format. Depicted to the right are the top 3 winners. Our philanthropic committee focuses on organizing agency efforts to have a benevolent impact in the community. Annually, the committee supports a number of local charity organizations, such as Feeding Tampa Bay, Metropolitan Ministries, and the United Way. This year, we were also able to collect funds to support recovery efforts in the Bahamas following the devastation of Hurricane Dorian, and we look to making future donations as we approach the holiday season. In these unprecedented times, EPC staff believes that it is imperative to help those in our community who are suffering and in need. I'd like to highlight a few key events EPC participated in prior to the state of emergency. We received the Tampa Downtown Partnerships Urban Excellence Award in recognition of 18 years of excellence in hosting our Clean Air Fair. Everyone felt the love at the Love Hillsborough event, which showcased sustainable projects happening throughout Hillsborough County. We participated in the Strawberry Festival parade activities, where Commissioner White's lovely daughter, Megan, was presented as the reigning Strawberry Festival queen. Our agency has been a proud exhibitor at the USF Engineering Expo for 2 decades. Our staff are leaders in the community, served as the host of Toastmasters for Hillsborough County. We supported various community events like the Yes Fair, which is one of the largest disability education and awareness events held in Tampa Bay, and staff attended the Florida Governor's Luncheon. We recognized our legal and administration director and general counsel, Rick Shantz, upon his retirement after 15 years with the agency. I attended the annual Florida Association of Counties Legislative Day, during which commissioners and staff are invited to discuss bills impacting home rule, on which create unfunded mandates. Last but not least, we celebrated the holidays with our friends and our families, and it means so much to us when you are able to join in our celebrations, commissioners. Sadly, we want to recognize the recent passing of several members of the EPC family. Kent Bailey was an environmental champion who led by example and who was tireless in his efforts. He was a member of EPC's environmental feedback group and championed causes at the local and state level. Dina Levengood was a person who lived fearlessly and set her course in life based on the convictions of her heart. Also a member of EPC's environmental feedback group, Dina advocated for causes she held near and dear to her heart. It was Terrell Sesson's visionary legislation in 1967 that resulted in the creation of EPC. It was our privilege to honor him at our 50th celebration and to induct him into the Executive Directors Hall of Fame in 2017. I'm so grateful to have known him personally and to be carrying on the important legacy he began in Hillsborough County over 50 years ago. We look forward to 2021 with high expectations of ourselves, and we will strategically plan to address our known challenges. We will, of course, continue to make our staff safety our #1 priority. Knowing that we should anticipate reduced funding, we are already assessing our FY21 needs. It is important that we keep pace with the constantly evolving changes in information technology so that our communications and information storages are secure. Not knowing what the future holds with respect to the current health crisis, we will remain adaptable, looking always to efficiently maximize resources and maintain flexibility. Lastly, I just want to emphasize our staff's diligence and hard work during these times. It's been an adjustment for all of us, and our staff is performing admirably. But we cannot do what we do without your support and involvement. It's your backing that makes EPC a first-rate local environmental program. With that, we want to thank our new county administrator, Bonnie Wise, for the support we received from her and her staff. But most of all, for the support we received from you, the board. That concludes my annual report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we have staff online as well to answer questions.
Thank you. You can really see from this report how much work our EPC has done throughout the year, even in the face of the challenges of COVID for so long. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you so much for that very comprehensive and informative annual report. What's readily obvious is that the EPC has not only taken on big challenges over the long term that have improved our community, but in your leadership, Ms. Doherty, that the being prepared for the things that we need to be prepared for securing your documents, for making sure you're innovating your IT, the leadership that it takes to keep this organization running smoothly, in addition to having your staff just be over the top excellence, is a testament of your leadership and of this board's support of the organization of EPC. As you saw in some of the pictures, being able to be at events, you are, and the organization, as well as this board, is creating new leaders in the area of environmental science and environmental protections. I spent last evening listening to a FaceTime between an organic farming organization and an environmental scientist discussing ways that we could address zoning and other efforts to improve communities in terms of, food safety, but more importantly, environmental safety. So that they're creating a whole new set of leaders. While we've lost some very important ones over the last year, not only on those that are citizens that participate in the effort, but on our leaders that have really gotten this going and making it work. Your report was very, very informative, and thank you very much for all that you do. I think all the citizens of Hillsborough County are benefited from it. And those that come to Hillsborough County to enjoy what we have here, preserving our environment has allowed that part of our economy to thrive, even in spite of COVID. So thank you so very much for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Overman, for your remarks, but also thinking about how important our environmental assets are for attracting people to come here and grow their businesses or come as tourists and enjoy our area. Tampa Bay is an integral part of our resources and why people come here. And our rivers and our water areas are part of what attracts people to Tampa Bay. And the work, I'm going to stop and hope that somebody can mute their phone. Yeah. It's you. Anyway, so what I was saying is it's our environmental assets, our bay, our rivers, our lakes are so important in attracting people here for fishing, for boating, for skiing, for all the things that people think of when they come to Tampa Bay. And the work that EPC does in improving the water quality, it's really amazing to watch those orange levels changing to yellow, changing to green over the years. I grew up here, so did my mom and my grandmother. And I remember when Tampa Bay stunk. Okay, it stunk at low tide in the late 60s, early 70s. And we've been cleaning it up ever since then with the efforts of EPC. Certainly every single wetland mitigation to make sure that stormwater runoff is being filtered before it runs into the bay is helping to clean that water before it goes into the bay and causes pollution, red tide, algae blooms, and all that. So we are really doing good work here and have so much to be proud of. The conservation easements, I was amazed in the report to see the hundreds of acres that have been 500 and something acres since 2014 preserved. So that's like not just saying to somebody that can't develop there, that's saying nothing can be developed there in perpetuity. And EPC is going to hold those conservation easements and protect those areas. And that is so important in keeping our environment clean and getting it cleaner, and protecting habitat for things like eagles at the same time. So really good work. And I applaud you too for increasing the diversity of your leadership staff during this time. That is so important on so many levels and improves our community and improves our work of our EPC when you improve the level of diversity. So thank you for all of that. I have Commissioner Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me say this, and for all of those of you that are going to be here in the upcoming years, our budgets, because of this COVID-19, are going to be a strained budget. When I say strained, I'm talking about a really tight budget, probably for the next couple of years. And I do know that Ms. Doherty and Ms. Wise will be working very close together to try to make things happen. But let's make sure that the EPC get the funding that they need. It's going to be some things that they're going to have to do out there to make sure they meet the needs of keeping the public safe as our leaders of the state start opening this county back up more and more, which I have some major concerns about that. But make sure, please, as you as county commissioners and Ms. Wise and Ms. Doherty are working in the years to come to make sure that the funding, as much as possible, stays with the EPC and they keep the staff they need, the equipment they need. I know there are boats that I think are getting pretty old and they need to be renewed. I don't know how we're going to make that happen, but please do that, because this report, an extensive report, goes in depth of what has happened, but it also talks about what has to happen. So for the good of this county and the good of the people that are here, please work on that.
Thank you. And seeing no other comments, we can move to agenda item 8B.
Thank you, Commissioner. 8B is a request to initiate process to revise Chapter 5 of the Wetlands Basis of Review, and Andy Schipfer will be discussing that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andy Schipfer, EPC Wetlands Director. Before I start, I have to take a moment because I've been fortunate enough to be under the entire tenure of Commissioner Miller, and I just wanted to identify that how appropriate it is that you really do Eagles, because, you know, like the Eagles, you soar above the fray. You're somebody that we all honor very much and look to when we're looking for leadership and guidance. So I thought that was so appropriate, and I just really wanted to thank you for your service as well as I'm about to speak. Today, Commissioners, I come before you, thank you, before you to seek authorization to allow EPC staff to move forward with rulemaking, to conduct at least 2 public workshops, and to set a public hearing before this board to consider proposed changes to Chapter 5 of the Environmental Protection Commission of Hillsborough County, basis of review for authorization of activities to pursuant to Chapter 1-11 Wetlands. That's a lot of a mouthful there, but that's our basis of review. And from here on, I'll refer to as our BOR. The BOR was established on July 17, 2008 to support Chapter 111, the wetland rule, and to be revised, and has not been revised since its inception. The purpose of the BOR was to provide guidelines and standards for the executive director to issue an authorization for impacts to wetlands and other surface waters. Chapter 5 of the BOR, the subject of this request, is limited to only impacts that are deemed of nominal consequence or minimal impact, and may be permitted as miscellaneous activities or MAIW under our rule. An MAIW permit does not require traditional mitigation, again, because of the minimal impact, but may have conditions such as replanting, erosion control, and turbidity control. Our request is limited to only Chapter 5 of the BOR, not the entire BOR or Chapter 111 of the Wetland Rule. Chapter 5 provides guidelines and standards for the miscellaneous activity permits that are the primary public access and interface with wetlands and other surface waters. Examples of permitted activities include, but are not limited to, nuisance vegetation removal, shoreline and open water, docks, boardwalks, boat ramps, shoreline stabilization, and swimming access. And Commissioner Smith, as you identified, these are the areas and activities where our people are attracted to Florida so that they can interact and recreate with our wetlands, lakes, streams, rivers in Tampa Bay. The purpose of the amendments are to provide greater clarity in the guidelines for the end users as well as EPC staff reviewers, to make the application process more user-friendly, to make alignments with changes in state requirements, and obviously to continue protection of our valuable wetland resources. Some examples of the proposed amendments will be providing noticing to make the affected public aware when application of herbicides will occur at lakes and ponds to remove nuisance vegetation, and also to make sure that multiple applicants do not apply so that chemicals do not intentionally be put in those lakes and ponds more than once over a short period of time. To specify for minimization, co-locating structures and swim access in a single area along the shoreline to minimize wetland impacts and surface water impacts. Adding additional clarification for walkways to avoid resources, and clarifying that clean concrete is necessary for construction of a boat ramp. This is not all of the updates, but it is an example of them. Updates are not intended to reduce wetlands protection, nor are they intended to make regulations more stringent. Public workshops will be held and allow the public and all other stakeholders to participate and provide in the rulemaking process and rule changes. The workshops will be well advertised using social media, direct outreach to the public for affected parties. It'll include EPC feedback groups and also environmental organizations. A notice public hearing is required to approve a rule amendment. Chapter 5 of the BOR has not been amended since its inception in 2008, and revisions are merited. So at this time, Commissioners, staff is recommending that the Commission vote to authorize staff to initiate rulemaking to Chapter 5 of the BOR, to conduct at least 2 public workshops, and to set a public hearing before this Commission to consider amendments to Chapter 5 of the BOR. With that, I'm available for questions.
So moved.
Move approval.
Thank you. So I've got a motion from Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Overman to direct staff to initiate the process to revise Chapter 5 of the Wetlands Basis of Review. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
All right. Let's have a vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Hagan, Commissioner Hagan, Miller,
Yes.
Merman,
Yes.
Commissioner Merman.
Yes.
Thank you. Overman,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner White, one more time.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you. And Ms. Doherty, if you take us through item 8.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you'll remember last year, when I renegotiated my contract, I was normally reviewed in October, but the board moved my review date to coincide with the county attorney and the county administrator. So my review date will be in December, but obviously we don't have a meeting in December, so it will be moved to January. So with that, Elaine DeLue, our Director of Administration and Finance, will walk you through the process.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ms. Doherty's amended employment agreement requires the Commission conduct an evaluation every December or soon after. In preparation for that, we review the process at least one meeting before you conduct your evaluation. Since we don't have another meeting until January, this is the time to start the process, which is as follows. The Commission periodically reviews the EPC strategic plan, including agency goals. You receive quarterly updates of agency goals in the agenda packet. Ms. Doherty provides her annual report, which you heard today. You receive blank evaluation forms and ranking criteria. This was included in your backup and will be provided again through email. Ms. Doherty provides a self-evaluation to you, which contains accomplishments, metrics, and milestones for the past fiscal year. If you would like, you can request to meet with her individually. After you review the annual report and the self-evaluation, we ask that you fill out the evaluation forms and return them to the EPC chair by December 23rd. The chair will send them back to us and we will compile the scores provided by you and have an open discussion at the next commission meeting. There is no action necessary to take today. We just wanted to inform you of the process and see if you had any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeLue. I see a hand raised. Commissioner Miller, is that left over?
No, I have a question.
Okay, you're
I have a
recognized.
question. Am I going to get a chance to evaluate her before I leave?
Commissioner, you can.
I leave in November, but I know that it won't come back to January, but I think I should have an opportunity to have a say somewhere in here.
Yes.
If I don't, I'm look, if I don't get that opportunity, she gets what's the highest rating? 5?
Yes. Yes.
I'll give her 6s. Okay? If I don't get that opportunity, that's mine. Madam Chair, if I don't get that opportunity, say that Commissioner Miller gave her 6s on his evaluation he wasn't able to turn in. That's mine.
Thank you. That's duly noted, and we'll be passing that on to the new commissioners coming on board, just to give them a heads up of what the former commissioners and former chair of EPC left as his recommendation. So, just seeing no other comment, our last regular agenda item before some announcements that we have is the Executive Director's report. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Commissioner. And again, before I begin my report, thank you, Commissioner Miller. Again, it's been such a pleasure to work with you. I appreciate your kind comments, and I did want to respond to Chairman Smith's comments on diversity. Chairman Smith, when I was ushered into this position 5 years ago, Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Higginbotham, their number one thing that they wanted me to focus on in the agency was diversity. And I wanted to let Commissioner Miller know I will continue to work on that, not only in the hiring realm, which I think we've done great on, but also in the promotion realm as well. But Commissioner Miller felt exactly like you do, Commissioner Smith, that great organizations are born out of great diversity. And so I wanted to thank him for that sage advice. I walked up and thanked him for his support, and he said, you need to make sure that you focus on diversity. And I've tried to do my best, and I will continue to do that in the future as well. And thank you for your ratings, Commissioner, and all your support throughout the years and your negotiating of my contracts, especially in the beginning. It was a rigorous process, and I appreciated your assistance.
Well, welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much for all that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. As we move through the Executive Director report, the first slide is EPC senior leadership, and we meet several times a year for strategic planning. We set aside this time to evaluate EPC's progress towards meeting our agency's long-term goals and to ensure that our actions align with intended outcomes. Our next planning session will be in December. Next slide, please. The Hillsborough Solar Co-op has had a very successful year, raising their membership goal from 100 to 125. The co-op closes to new members tomorrow, October 16th. Anyone that is interested in joining may still visit the website to register at www.solarunitedneighbors.org/Hillsborough. I was invited for the second time to be a guest speaker at the Tampa Bay Association of Environmental Professionals at their Women in STEM 2020 workshop, where I discussed making a STEM career by doing what you love, actually featuring a book and some quotes from books, a book called Lean In. The workshop was virtually attended and there was a well participation. Next slide, please. Okay. I was invited by the City of Tampa's Sustainability and Resiliency Officer, Whit Remmer, to be a participant in the Resilient Cities Catalyst. The event was between October 6th and 8th, and I participated in phase 2, the resiliency assessment focusing on environmental concerns. And one of the things that I spent my 20 minutes discussing was the resiliency and issues that will face the City of Tampa and Hillsborough County if and when we ever get hit by a hurricane, and all of the issues that would be facing the port with some of the chemicals that are there as well. Next slide. It has always been a goal of mine to conduct one-on-one meetings with all EPC staff each year, and I have continued to do so virtually. These normally, they can go anywhere. I've had them go from half an hour to as long as 4 hours. And sometimes people come back for a second one-on-one. But the reality is that you can take as much time as you want, and my door is always open and you can contact me. But this is a new individual that's working with us that had come from the FWC, Chris Boland. Next slide. Our next meeting is in January. So commissioners, I would like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. During my briefing with Commissioner White, he recommended maybe we do a virtual Thanksgiving, and he would be happy to attend and say thank you to staff. And so maybe if it's publicly noticed, everyone, if they wanted to just say a few words of encouragement or advice or anything like that, we're going to try and maybe do some sort of a Teams call. But unless you have any questions, this concludes my report. I look forward to seeing you in 2020. Happy retirement, Commissioner. We'll see you on our Teams meeting at the end of the month, and all the best.
Thank you. And I'm just going to make a little announcement of some happy news that has been coming forward in the news media lately on television and in various news media, is that we are making progress towards the naming of the Little Manatee River as a wild and scenic river. That is the top highest federal protection designation that a river can get. And to have one of our own Hillsborough County rivers getting that protection and that designation is just huge. And it's thrilling me, of course. So it has been brought up to the state legislature with resolutions passed by both our County Commission and here in Hillsborough County and the Manatee County Commission, thanks to the efforts of our County Commissioner, Stacy White. So I've just asked Commissioner White if he would inform us about the progress of this initiative, which is just so exciting in our area. Commissioner White.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Well, it's been about a year since I took the resolution to the County Commission and since the Manatee County Commission passed their companion resolution requesting that designation. But I am pleased to announce, as you've seen in the media, that Congressman Buchanan has filed the necessary legislation for that designation in Congress. I'm sure he would be happy to have some co-sponsors. So for those of you with relationships with members of Congress, that would be much appreciated. It'll have to have a companion in the United States Senate. I'm optimistic that that will end up being the case. It's my understanding that it takes a couple of years from there for the process to make its way through the system, if you will. The federal staff has to get involved in evaluating the river. Work has to be done in beginning to create a local management plan for the river, but we already have a head start. As you mentioned, Commissioner Smith, it's an absolutely beautiful river. It already has an outstanding Florida waterway designation by the state of Florida. And if we are successful in getting this designation in the end, it will be only the third river in the entire state of Florida to receive such designation. So I'm excited. So for those of you with relationships in Congress, we'd love co-sponsors in the U.S. House. And I know that our legislative affairs staff and our outside lobbyists will be working diligently to get that Senate companion.
Thank you so much, Commissioner White, and thanks for all your work on that. And I think it would be great to keep us updated as you reach different points on this process. Let us know, and of course, I know you'd have the support of everybody on this board, since it's the same board that supported the resolution. And so, anything we can do to provide any support, you'll find allies here.
We'll do, and I love your idea for the updates. I'll ask Brandon Wagner to put an occasional update on the county commission agenda.
Great idea. Some real, I think it could get some attention there. Yes, Ms. Doherty?
Sorry, I was looking for the raise your hand function. Would it be valuable, since we're not going to have a meeting, to perhaps the board to take action for the chair to write a letter in support of that designation on EPC letterhead that then could accompany your outreach through the county to these different congressional staff?
Commissioner White, you understand the politics of this better than anyone. If you feel that is helpful, certainly you could get that support here.
Absolutely. We've done the resolution at the county commission. I took one to the Tampa Bay Estuary Program Board. I know that some groups such as the Audubon Society and the Save the Manatee group and others have written letters. If I've never taken anything to this board, my apology, that was an oversight. But I'm happy to make a motion today to authorize you, Commissioner Smith, as chair of the EPC, to write a letter of support to Congressman Buchanan's office. Let me not specify Congressman Buchanan's office, because we may want to copy some various committee members and whatnot as well. So I'll just say to write a letter of support to the necessary members of Congress and staff members of Congress in support of this.
Again, Commissioner, I think we may have written that letter several years ago, a letter of support, when you collected all the letters of support, and Sam El-Rabi would know that better than I, as well as Tom Ash. But I didn't know if you needed a more updated letter, because when you collected letters in the beginning, I think EPC was one of them, but just wanted to make sure your bases were covered since we wouldn't be meeting again.
No, I think an updated letter is in order. So I'll leave that motion on the floor.
I'll second it. All right. I'll defer to Commissioner Miller.
All right, motion for an updated letter of support of the designation of the Little Manatee River as a wild and scenic river by Commissioner White and seconded by Commissioner Miller. Let's take a vote. We'll take a roll call vote. Yes.
Hagan? Kemp? I'm sorry, Miller?
Yes.
Merman? Commissioner Merman?
I think we lost her.
I don't see.
Commissioner Overman?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner White?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carried 4-0.
All right. We'll bring megaphones next time. And if I don't see any other hands raised, any other further business, future agenda items going once and twice, then we are ready to adjourn and wish each other happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. If Ms. Doherty, let us know if you have a virtual Thanksgiving. I'll be there.
All right, super duper. Thank you. We'll let everybody know. Safe holidays, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye.